What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Fast and Furious, where we explore the journeys of HubSpot solution partners and who's tiered and scaled inside the ecosystem. Today's a special episode, a bit different. We're not talking about going from diamond to elite, because when we're talking to somebody that's elite, my guest is a good friend and someone I enjoy being with a lot, Brendan Tolleson. I always say his name, but I can't say his last name. I'm not going to say it out loud. Can you say it right?
No, I'd like to hear you try.
Brendan
Tolleson.
BT. We call him BT. We call him BT. We call him Tolleson, co-founder and CEO of Rev Partners. You probably have heard about them before. In some ways, they're the only organization today to hold both an elite HubSpot Partner accreditation and an elite studio accreditation with Clay. They started during COVID. They've grown to be over a 10 million AR organization, 75 plus people. And they now have also built one of the largest, if not the largest, HubSpot sponsored, one of the HubSpot sponsored events inside the ecosystem outside of Inbound, a conference called Southbound. So today's episode will be about the origins of Southbound, how it came to be, what is Brendan's hope for this, why he started it, and what's the big bet for next year. Wanted some notes on here, and I'm going to do this is in April. This is on April 16th, and you're going to the Roxy in Atlanta. Is that correct?
Roxy, that's right. It is a fun music venue in an area of Atlanta called the Battery, which is like the only like self-contained space in Atlanta where you can actually walk around and eat, drink, go to a Braves game, enjoy Southbound, and have a hotel right there. So it's we're pretty excited about the space.
Yeah, and they got I don't know how he assembled. People keep asking me. I'm like, I don't know. I actually don't know how he's done it. I don't know how he's done some things. Even when I worked directly with him all the time, the speakers are Yamini, CEO of HubSpot, Donald Miller from StoryBrand, Mark Roberge, the former CRO of HubSpot, got him to 100 million. Varun, CEO and founder of Clay. There's going to be 500 people. So Brendan, thank you for joining. I mean, that's just I know it's a big, long-winded intro, but there's a lot to say about it. What I want to talk about today is origin story stuff. So, like, Southbound. What made you say, I want to start a event and invite a bunch of people to it and spend lots of money that I may never get back? So, like, talk me through your like, what was the original idea? And I guess was it 3 years ago, your first one?
Yeah, when you say it like that, it sounds pretty crazy. Yeah, it's about yes, we've done Southbound for 3 years now, and when you say you, it makes me feel uncomfortable because it's a collective. But the Southbound's been going on for 3 years. This has been something that I would say we wanted to do for a while, longer than 3 years. But as you mentioned, we started RP during COVID, so like events weren't really a thing, and we had talked to HubSpot quite a bit about creating market development funds. That could be a really powerful way to drive awareness and ultimately pipeline is if we do events together, meaning, HubSpot with their partners. And so that's kind of where it starts. Now, why do we want to do it besides just like the natural pipeline development? I mean, I think there's a few things. One, we wanted to put a stake in the ground for the Southeast. And so hence Southbound to play on Inbound, that we wanted to own. When I say we, RP, own the Southeast. So that was important to us. So that was one. Two, we really wanted to create, when I say a community, we wanted to add value to the community. And so for us, it was how do we create a more intimate space where it could be this, in our minds, be the largest HubSpot event outside of Inbound, where you still have size, but you don't have the scale where there's not the human connection. So we really wanted to combine the insights with application. And so the theme this year is a play on the word time. So what is timeless and what is timely, and equipping that go-to-market leader to be successful. Whether they work with us or they work with somebody else, we really want to be able to serve them in that way.
So just walk back with me for a second. It's 2023, and you're doing Southbound for year one. What does that look like? What's the venue? What's the headcount? What's the budget? Like, what are you worried about?
Yeah, we were at our annual offsite, so it's called Uncanny Hootenanny, and I remember we were in Tucson, Arizona, and got the email from HubSpot that we had been approved for MDF. with the caveat that we had to run the event within 6 weeks. So we had to move very quickly. And so we had 6 weeks to create an event, identify sponsors, identify speakers, identify a location, identify a list. So that was a sprint, to say the least. But we did it. So we that's when we came up with Southbound, the concept. We had at CallRail's office, which is in CallRail is based in Atlanta. So they were gracious enough to give us their access to their office, and I think we had over 100 attendees. But because of the rush on the date, I couldn't even be there. Like I already had a family trip that we had scheduled 6 months prior, and so it was like, well, hey, this is the best day for the speakers, so I will not be there. But the team did a great job, so we got 100 people to show up. And then last year we had 250 people show up. We hosted at the Atlanta Tech Village. And this year, as you mentioned, we're targeting 500 folks. And the intent would be that the Roxy becomes really what BCEC is for inbound, the Roxy becomes for southbound. And so that we just start to build around this every year. And so that's what we're doing.
So I'm going to make sure I get this, just learning things. I'm trying to take some principles out. You had an event and it was not part of your plan at all. You said you got an MDF, and we said, okay, how can we spend this money in the best possible way? And you created an event in 6 weeks.
Correct.
That you did not attend.
Correct.
Okay. So I'm thinking about what makes, and then you're like, okay, that worked. Let's do it again next year. And so you put some more plan into it. You got a venue, you got an event venue. What was, when you're thinking about doubling, because you doubled from year 1 to year 2, what did you do different when you had more than 6 weeks, and why did you retain it as part of your budget? Like what it still feels crazy. I mean, I don't know if you're like, how much does it cost to do an event like this, even that you have to commit before you have sponsorships? Like
it's not just the money, guy. Like if people are listening and they're thinking about it, but it's not just the money. It's really the time. This will suck a lot of my time. It sucks a lot of the marketing team's time. So like, if you're going to do it, you just need to really make sure it's something you want to invest in, because you can't do it half-assed is what I could say. You really have to go all in on it. We're spending lots of money, candidly, before we knew we were going to have. Take the Roxy, for example. The Roxy's not cheap to rent out. It's over 6 figures to just even rent out the Roxy. And that's before you have sponsors. It's before you have speakers. And that's before you have, I don't think about revenue, sponsors or ticket sales, but you got speakers you got to pay for, you got hotel. There's a lot of costs. So it is not a small investment. But to answer,
to like in the middle of this, because I think it's just helpful to hear this, is because sometimes when you're going to build something, you got to bet. So what I'm hearing you say is, before we have any revenue generated in any matter, you are committing 6-figure plus into doing an event like this.
And yes, but we also, yes is the short answer. However, like, this is our 3rd year, and so there's a little bit, there is traction. I think that's the other point for folks that are saying, like, I want to do an event, and don't do an event in 6 weeks. I'll say that. But if you wanted, like, if you're planning on doing an event in the fall or whatever, start. These things take time, and so time is on our side because we've invested in it for 3 years. But as you mentioned, it's grown. 100, 250, targeting 500. This thing, but that there's no way we'd have 500. There's no way I would spend that much money in the first year. It would not be. Investment. Yeah, it's good. With all things, don't start with what you can do. I would recommend a 100-person event and see, go from there. Yeah. This is some stories from this, as you're thinking about, you're talking about the story of power of Southbound. What has Southbound generated for Rev Partners that a demand gen budget would never could? Like examples, like a relationship, a deal that you won because of it. Like, what's been the real life benefit of it all? Some of that's hard to quantify, to your point. Like, I would say the first 2 years we weren't really necessarily trying to quantify it from ROI perspective. It was more about the experience created. It's small things like, hey, let's not talk about attendees, or let's not reference people that sign up as attendees, let's talk to them as if they're call them guests. The experience that we want to create for our people around hospitality and making it feel different than just a standard event was probably the priority. And so I think there's that element of how do you make somebody feel and the association with the brand, both as it relates to the one-on-one, but also to the larger brand. There's no doubt that part was really impactful. And it also, I think there's is really important from the leadership perspective, meaning in our example, HubSpot, that they know that we're willing to invest in these areas and that we're not playing it safe and that we're not just building a lifestyle business. We're looking to scale something. And that gets rewarded. And so that for us, that was really important. I think you should look at it, at least the way we look at it. It's not just like, hey, how much pipeline. It's all phases of the pipeline. So we put a lot of focus this year on getting our partners there. So how do we ensure?
When you say partners, I think you mean customers.
Yeah, how do we get our customers there? And so, how do we get them hotels? How do we ensure that they have access to experiences? Meaning, like, there's a Braves game we're doing. We're having a VIP experience with Yamini. Like, those type of things that we want to make sure that they feel special. And of course, there's the standard stuff around like deals in pipeline and target accounts and how do we maximize the ecosystem to drive registrations. But it's a hard one to quantify. Historically, it has been. This year, I would say we're much more diligent about, hey, if we're going to invest this much, the target we've set is we want to influence 1 million pipeline through this event.
Yeah, so the things I've heard that's helpful is number one is. I think you'd agree with this is brand transcends sometimes hard times. So like a brand matters and it's very hard to quantify brand. Number two is, that sounds a lot like a user conference, focusing on customers and having them come in. And there's a lot of money. Retention is the lifeblood of a business as much as sales is, especially as you start growing. So it's like helpful to have something like that.
Yeah. I would say yes. I'd build a little bit on that. I mean, I think because I imagine there's a lot of agencies that are trying to think through how do I grow. And guys, there are over 7,000 of us in the world, and it's probably more than that. It's probably 8,000 at this point. The point is that's a lot. And so how do you differentiate? And so these type of events allow you to kind of break through that noise. And then to your point, it can be a user conference if you actually have things to say, meaning are you building solutions, whether it's AI agents, whether it's training, whether it's software applications, you need to have something that you're taking to market besides just a HubSpot, or at least our point of view is you need to have something beyond just, hey, I do HubSpot implementations if you really want to stand out. And the last thing, when we started Southbound, like AI wasn't really a thing. Like people talked about AI, but like if you think about LLMs, they've been around for, really 2 years, which is hard to believe. And that desire for it, like trust, meaning like trust is fostered oftentimes through face-to-face because you're just break through that noise of what's real and what's fake. And events is a really powerful way to make that possible. And so we've also, I always get the headwinds and tailwinds screwed up, but the point is that's actually helped us from an event standpoint.
Well, this year you got there's a question is Yamini is opening Southbound. How has the HubSpot, you've mentioned it, you kind of infer, like kind of put in there a bit, how's the relationship evolved as Southbound's grown?
The first year we were fortunate to get Andy Petrie, who at the time was the chief product officer. And so he came and spoke, and that's why we chose the date. That's why I couldn't come, is because Andy was the key. Andy's based in, or I think it's okay to say this, he's based in Atlanta, so that worked out well. Yamini, we tried to get last year, she said no. And then I have been persistent is probably the best word. And so I think I think to her credit, the idea of like solving for the customer and building with partners, those aren't words. Like she actually really does care about that. And it's It's demonstrating the actions in her meeting schedule and her travel schedule. And for her, it was like, hey, this has to be big enough and important enough for me to do it, which is totally fair. And so we gave her the vision of what this year is going to look like, who we're targeting, where it's going to be. And she said, that sounds really exciting and I'd love to do it. So we're very fortunate, but it took 3 years for that to happen. So again, don't expect Yamini to come to your event year one. Like, you need to have a track record and something that makes sense for her to invest her time and resources into.
Question, Brendan, is your thought is Southbound is a one-day, one-city event. Is there ever a vision of making it bigger?
I hope so. I think that, what I would love to see is more like workshop kind of concepts. And so, hey, when we think about the timeless and timely, we talk about education application, the application side of it. I think there's a really powerful way to take that to cities to meet people where they're at and to showcase that. So I think if there's demand for it, I shouldn't say demand for it because somebody had to create demand, but we'll see. I mean, this thing takes, going back to time, this thing just takes so much time that you really, like, that's a whole nother, like, you're really creating like what's it called? Like I was gonna say a concert, but what's the thing when you have like you have multiple cities? It's like, that's a huge endeavor, which I think would be really exciting. So maybe in year 5 we'll do that. But
year 5, I like. So as we close, I got a few just closing questions as we think about next steps. You're elite HubSpot partner. You're an elite Clay studio partner. You built one of the biggest partner events in the world. Rev Partners, I would call as a machine. So what's your next tier? Like, what's the thing you're like? What's the one big thing you're trying to do that you haven't done it yet this year? What's the big goal?
Well, yeah, we've been fortunate, yes. And I would say you and I in that example. But I would say, in terms of what we're trying to accomplish this year, from a go-to-market, we would love to be, we want to be partner of the year. Or maybe I should say we will be partner of the year. So that's probably the right way to manifest it, if you will. But that's kind of the North Star this year, is that we want to get that designation. So, when you and I met with Yamini back in the day, we said we want to be your most strategic and influential partner in the ecosystem. We're going to measure it 3 ways. It's going to be the community, the ecosystem, the app ecosystem, and the services side. And the services side was partner of the year. We've already done the first 2. We just haven't done the last one. And this is the year to do it, because that would be year 5. So that is, like, if you ask what am I really wanting to see this year, that would be the big one. There are a lot of other things that we are, attacking right now, but for this audience and that question, I'll say that one.
So last thing, for any partners listening to you and they want to say, I want to build something like this, what's your 3 points of advice to get started?
3 points of advice. I would say 1, what do you want to build? And meaning, like, are you a solopreneur or are you an entrepreneur? Both are fine. Actually, both are great. And I think you need to kind of answer that question, because they're very different types of businesses. And so, have that in mind. And if you're a solopreneur, meaning you want to build a small group and you want to do the work, like, celebrate that and be okay with that. Don't try to be something you're not, because that will be a really bad outcome for your team and for your customers you serve. So I say that's 1. 2 would probably be, what do you want to be known for? And so having a point of view or a methodology that informs, how, like, what you're creating is really important. And then 3 would be focus. So once you know what you want to be about, then attack that and don't get distracted by other things, because there's always going to be things that are really exciting and tantalizing that will take you away from the mission. So I guess those are 3 things that, as you asked that question, that came to mind.
I loved it. I was talking about Southbound. He's talking about building all Rev Partner. I like this.
You asked me about building Rev Partner, like, if you want to build, but I can get a bit too if you'd like. But
this is just as a point is, it's hard to overemphasize this, is going from a 5-person org to a 25 person org, like that jump in between is a messy middle. It's very difficult, and you have to know what you want because it will be so hard during that time that it's very difficult to make it through the amount of effort, the amount of extra hours it takes if you're not. Brendan and I were both fortunate to have each other during those times. So it's like, I don't know what it's like to do it by yourself either. So we can only give you from our perspective. I'm a big proponent of having a partner. And the people who do it alone are more special or better and stronger than me. So
yeah, it's
okay,
like don't do it alone, but you also like the systems and the scale part. I mean, 50 to 100 is really hard.
Yes.
That's been the hardest part for us, and it feels like we have. I mean, knock on wood, that we're at 85 right now, but it took us a while to get past. Like we were in that 65 to 75 for probably candidly, I think it was probably about 12 months, 12 to 18 months, and so it's not easy, guys, and that's but if it was easy, a lot of people would do it. So it's learn a lot, and happy to be a resource however I can.
So if anybody has any questions, what's the best way to get a hold of you? Brendan, what's the best way?
Don't get a hold of me until Southbound's over, but after that, you can. LinkedIn's great, but also my email. I'll say my last name for you. Tolleson at revpartners.io. But those are probably the two best options.
Well, Brendan, appreciate it. Thanks for sharing your experience. I'm sure I know there's a lot of people that want to chat with you and value when you have anything to say. So thank you for the wisdom. Thank you for sharing your time on this with Fast and Furious. Appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll see y'all.
Okay. Stay awesome, everybody. Adios.